Larry's with us. We're going to do We Hated. And I just got one question for you. Yeah. Do we have an exit strategy for this series?
I'm not sure we do.
I mean, otherwise I'm going to have to make some life insurance. You know? And I just said this to Larry before we push the magic button. And that is Kathleen is over in Europe. And you might be able to talk to her while she's there. Got a very heavy agenda. And you've heard Kathleen here before, alone and also with Larry at another time. So we'll see what's shaking there. But this kind of plays into what you, I think, are going to talk about with regard to, I just think this is such a great topic in the sense of it just brings almost all of history together into the present and onto the future. Should we call it the last the last manifestation of the Holy Roman Empire?
That's exactly what I would call it.
All right. Okay, I just got to tell you something real quick.
Sure.
I had a weird dream last night.
Uh-oh.
You might want to stop there. No, it's just funny because subconscious and stuff, and I really don't want to. I don't really want to remember my dreams. I'm okay without it because sometimes they get rather cruel, you know.
I like the good ones. I want to remember the good ones, but the scary ones, nightmares, I can do without.
Well, all I can tell you is that I'm playing roller hockey on this like business complex.
Yeah.
Like it's a parking lot where we used to always play. You know, we were just like, I mean, this is like even into our 40s. I mean, we had a play where we could find blacktop and set up 2 goals. Anyway, we're playing in this parking lot, and these landscapers came in to like tend to whatever they had to, and they came in on helicopters. And if it isn't more,
they always do, don't they? I mean,
well, it was quite impressive. I guess speed was a vest, and then I hear this singing, and I look up to this building with your basic, business complex, kind of like charcoal tinted windows. You know what I mean? Big glass windows. And I look up, and it's Rod Stewart in a sound studio.
Oh, yeah.
And I wave to him, and he waves back to me. I can make sense.
He wasn't singing, "Do you think I'm sexy?" I hope.
No, you know what it is, and I understand why this happened. I was looking at YouTube. I was waxing nostalgic.
Yeah, that's not good sometimes.
But all right. Here's what happens. Yeah, waxing. No, stop.
Could be bikini wax, but we don't want to talk about that. Go ahead.
Well, the Isley Brothers, who you'll remember, right?
Yeah. I remember all the old groups.
All right. Well, apparently they came out of Cincinnati, but they set up shop in Teaneck, New Jersey, my hometown. And that's spelled like the beverage and the part of the anatomy. Well, they came out with a label, T, just the letter T, hyphen, neck. But they came out with the song before they went on that label called This Old Heart of Mine.
Oh, yeah, I remember that
Which
song.
I think is extremely great. I think it was one of the best.
It's a good song. I like that one.
Well, he does a cover of it, and I just came across YouTube where he and one of the Isleys are doing a duet, which is pretty cool. And that's what happened. I went into the whole memory about playing hockey. The landscaper thing I can't explain still with the choppers. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But if anybody has landscapers that do arrive at your place with helicopters, please let me know. All right, this has nothing to do with the subject at hand. But at any rate, I had to tell you that because somebody should share my pain, and I thought it should be you.
Yeah, well, I've been doing that.
Yeah. I can't tell you how much it's meant to me, so I won't. But I tell you what. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. It's your show. You do it.
Oh, you stop saying that now. You do that all the time, and people think I bully you with this stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
And I just want to say, folks, you have no idea.
Kind of bother you.
Folks, you don't know the emails I get from him. And I have to hear about Texas every day. And I'm so glad they got just absolutely destroyed by Baylor.
Yeah.
The Blue Buddhas. Okay.
I won't say anything about your Iowa State corn dogs.
There is nothing to say.
I'm sorry, your Iowa State Cyclones.
Right. Okay. There's nothing to say because those people actually go to classes. And they actually have to pass, and they do graduate people, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Well,
they'd never make it in the SEC.
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. They can't get worse than they do in the Big 12. That's the last.
Oh,
but,
man.
All right.
People like I think Gordon pointed out, some guy graduated from Auburn, I think it was, and the guy was like functionally illiterate. Couldn't do any basic reading and writing. It's a little tough to graduate from college that way.
Well, I always like to say it's capsulized in this little exchange. What's your name, son? I don't know. Got to ask Coach. There we go. All right, now what's at hand is something interesting because I've been emailing with terrible Ted Torbich and some people.
Yeah.
About what might come, and everybody's looking around at this financial situation that's taking place, knowing for sure that it wasn't by accident.
Oh, no.
It's like, oops, we shouldn't have done business like this. I mean, these people know what they're doing. We were put in a situation for a purpose, and of course, from any given day, Europe's okay, Europe's not okay, and then of course they were supposed to be okay, and then they're on the brink of disaster with their credit ratings.
Guess who's probably going to wind up bailing them out? And I'm not talking about Germany necessarily. I'm talking about the United States. The Fed is making some noise about the United States going in and helping bail out some of the problem states in the EU.
Well, from what I understand,
and that's like the blind leading the blind there.
Well, there again, it's brinksmanship and pulling somebody else down the vortex with you.
Exactly. That's what it's designed to do.
Well, as far as I know, I mean, the Fed gave them $75 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who the Fed gave that to. I don't know if it was one banking concern or another. It was a while ago, and I had saved the article. Probably Liam sent it to me, but if the Fed is backing the $75 trillion, that means you and I are backing the $75 trillion.
Exactly.
And that means if something goes down there, we all go down a toilet with one flush.
I mean, I think that we're there's going to be a financial crisis that makes that one of 2008 look small time, and in this new, it will change the way that I mean, it will be gloom and doom for real, and I don't think we'll ever evolve out of that. I think that'll be the final straw that breaks the camel's back, and we go into basic economic bondage, feudalism, millennium style.
Well, if we agree,
and that's the idea.
Well, if we're agreed that the economic situation didn't get to where it was without it being deliberate.
Oh yeah.
And that's, I think I was saying this with Trudeau the other day, and that is, if it's scripted and it was meant to get this horrible, then there's got to be an outcome which is not good. It's not going to return us to the way things were and say, okay, you bad boys, don't do that again.
No.
So this thing is ugly and it's going to stick around. And if they're going to be a little bit merciful, I guess, maybe they'll wait till after Christmas and then they can just go ahead and do it to everyone.
Oh yeah, I think that's the game plan. Is right now I think all this rosy forecast we were talking about last time, all this crap that comes out between November and Christmas, the end of November and Christmas, about how great the economy is all crap. It comes through your corporate controlled media, and the actual fact of the matter is the United States is in worse economic shape in some ways than it was in the times of the Great Depression in the 1920s and 30s.
It could be, and this is what I emailed Ted about, our views about that, and it could be that 2008 was not the big one, that the big one is coming.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then if we follow, and we said this before, the time between financial cataclysms and war, it's usually 9 years.
Yeah.
8 to 10, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And that may be ahead of us. But certainly, I think that the financial situation is the first overt thrust for those who are paying attention, most aren't, into a forced, let's everybody get into a global order of some kind, and an economic one would be just one of the ways and one of the facets of a world empire without really saying, guess who's king today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I have an article here that is very apropos to what we're talking about. It's called Germany's Next Casualty. It's in the Trumpet magazine. Brad McDonald wrote it. So Germany isn't just exploiting the financial crisis to conquer Europe. It's using it to gain leverage over the world, including the United States. It says, did you know that the European Union and the United States have the largest bilateral trade relationship in the world? And that together they account for about half the entire world GDP and nearly one-third of the world's trade flows. 20% of total U.S. trade is done with the EU. This means that if Europe's economies contract, and they are, then demand for American goods shrinks. As foreign demand dwindles, U.S. companies will be forced to tighten their already tight belts, meaning fewer new hires, more layoffs, and limited spending on upgrades and infrastructure. For an economy already hanging by a thread, even a marginal drop-off in foreign demand will inflict terrible damage. Then there's the slew of U.S. financial institutions, none of which are the picture of financial health, that are exposed to European debt. Right now, Goldman Sachs has $38.5 billion tied up in Europe. Morgan Stanley has $28.1 billion, while J.P. Morgan Chase has $22.8 billion. Bank shares tumbled for 2 weeks when Fitch Ratings warned that it might reduce its stable rating outlook for U.S. banks. Quote, unless the Eurozone debt crisis is resolved in a timely and orderly manner, warned the ratings agency, the broad outlook for U.S. banks will darken. He says if the Eurozone collapses, then there's a chance your bank will too. In Washington this week, President Obama and his finance gurus held emergency closed-door meetings with top European leaders, including European Commission President Jose Manuel Barroso and European Council President Herman Van Rompuy. Mr. Obama's alarm at what is happening in Europe was palpable in his post-meeting press conference. A financially healthy Europe is vital to American interests, he reiterated, which is why the United States stands ready to do our part to help them resolve this issue. Although the president didn't explain what he meant by do our part, there was a burst of headlines following his remarks declaring that America was preparing to bail out Europe. The White House quickly doused the story, which entails Press Secretary Jay Carney confidently stating, we did not in any way believe that additional resources are required from the United States or from American taxpayers. Less than 2 days after Carney's promise, Ben Bernanke, drum roll please, announced that the U.S. Federal Reserve, in consort with other central banks, was cutting the interest rate it charges on loans. The Fed did this for one reason and one reason only, to make it cheaper for ailing European banks and corporations to borrow dollars to pay their bills. Meanwhile, just as the Federal Reserve announced its cheap money bonanza, EU finance ministers were demanding that the IMF contribute more to the European Financial Stability Facility, the Eurozone's diminutive bailout fund. Of course, an increase in funds from the IMF stands to impact most members of the organization. But guess who the largest contributor to the IMF is? About 20% of the IMF's funding comes from America. Call these programs what you like, loans, collective financial security, an emergency rescue, an act of altruism, an act of self-interest. The reality is both are essentially bailouts. Stripped to essentials, America is once again having to rescue Europe from itself, is the way Telegraph columnist Ambrose Evans Pritchard put it. Jeremy Warner, one of Britain's leading finance pundits, agreed, quote, faced with Europe's abject failure to sort out its own mess, the U.S. Federal Reserve has been forced to come riding to the rescue again. And then McDonald says, this is incredible. Germany refuses to bail out its neighbors, its legal, political, and financial partners, fellow members of the European Union. Instead, it leaves it to the U.S. Federal Reserve to click its printing presses into high gear and to churn out the cash to bail out indebted European banks and states. Well, I think you can see from that it sure looks like a strategy on the part of Germany to bring us down and put themselves in a better position. And they already are putting a squeeze on the other countries in Europe. Got another quote here from GermanForeignPolicy.com. It's a think tank website that deals exclusively with German affairs, written by Germans. At today's German-French summit, this was, I think, December 5th when that was done, Monday, Federal Chancellor Angela Merkel was menaced with the threat of a definitive split-up of the European Union. If it should come to a resistance against planned changes of EU regulations, the corresponding treaties would be carried through in the Eurozone nations, Merkel announced. Some EU nations are expressing deep concern at the German plans, especially so-called action rights that fundamentally put the sovereignty of affected countries concerning any national initiatives out of action and questions of state authority. As we have warned, this is but the next phase of the German imperialist plan. This is from Ron Fraser in United States of Europe, Trumpet magazine. As we have warned, this is but the next phase of the German imperialist plan to whittle down the fractious combine of 27 EU member nations to a powerfully cohesive 10-nation combine in total submission to the authority of Berlin and Rome. The 10 will be Roman in religion and Germanic in political outlook. And he references Revelation 17:12 and 13. The British daily newspaper, The Times, judges that Germany has actually begun the process of the, quote, subjugation of foreign peoples. Also, German media openly speaks of German hegemony. One big daily newspaper said that should it succeed to rescue the euro, then, quote, Europe will become more German, with more control, more discipline, and heavier penalties. Like the Germans are always wanting to discipline somebody.
Economics were the reason for the First World War. So we're told.
Yeah.
They were coming on strong. They had no access really to.
I think economics was one of the causes, but it's really only one of the machinations. That's not the term I want. One of the tactics that caused it. I think the real cause for it was spiritual, and the real cause for it was the need to have 3 world wars to bring in world government and the dominion of Satan.
See, you're jumping me on that.
Yeah, well, I'm just...
Wait, Luke,
yeah,
you saw my email today.
I don't know.
There's no, I mean, come on. I mean, if you want to talk...
I think we're on the same page most of the time.
You know we are. I mean, there's 3 levels you can talk on.
Sure.
The spiritual, which I think is now no longer, if it ever were.
The sad part is, Biz, most of the time it's really hard to talk to someone who is not a Christian, who is not born again. It's hard to talk to them about spiritual reasons for political events, spiritual causes for mankind's problems. But when you talk to them about, economics, and you show them in dollars and cents, and you can talk to them about, trade deficits, et cetera, it's easier to get somebody's attention than it is to say that, it's Satan behind it all. And there's so many people that just don't want to believe in the supernatural. And I don't know what it would take for some people to really get that through their heads.
Understand, and you do, that there are pew-sitting Christians, and I'm not making fun of that, but I'm kind of typifying them in a sense, who don't understand what's going on now with spiritual. Are you serious? Are you kidding me? I mean, if you were to tell some Christians right now about the New World Order, they'd laugh in your face. Because they're too busy watching Fox, MSNBC, and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And they can't figure out. Oh, they don't even read the Bibles anymore. I mean, who's kidding who? And I had this unfortunate situation with someone who's in the extended family, and I just packed up and called it a day. There's no sense. It's like, okay, you understand Jesus, but you're going to go to Fox and MSNBC for the truth. Did it ever occur to you that perhaps maybe they're liars and there's no reason why in the world you should trust them except you were told to?
Yeah.
Fair and balanced. Who told you that?
I've had very
Fox
similar
did.
conversations with family members.
All right.
And it's just, it's like I don't have any hair left on the top of my head, so I can't tear it out. But, it's kind of that kind of thing where you just are so frustrated. It's like, which part don't you understand? Satan is the god of this world with a little g. He's been given dominion. And the Bible tells you that. The Bible tells you, even, the Apostle Paul, I believe it's in Thessalonians, the famous quote about, now we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers of darkness, and yet people, and they look at these phony politicians who are propped up by the corporations and propped up by the elites, put out there and doing that dog and pony show, and they want to get behind that. And most evangelical Christians, if you'll, pardon that term, but most of them want to go vote Republican because the Republicans are against that gay marriage, and the Republicans are against, all these social issues. And I'm not a fan of gay marriage or anything, but which part of, there are a whole lot of Republicans that have been busted, for homosexual activities, especially those dealing with people that are underage. And which part of, Dick Cheney's daughter, who is in the government or was in the government of the United States, is a lesbian who lives, in a quote married relationship. And this guy's only the second in command of the Republican Party. Some people say he was the top dog. I don't know, and these obvious hypocrisies, and they go up and they get all fired up on that stuff, and the Democrats are they're the bane of our existence, and that's true, but the Republicans are the other half of the bane of our existence. I don't know what it takes for them to see that it's all a dog and pony show, and that neither party represents the American people.
The thing is, they have been brought up believing in mainstream news being legit. And I don't know that understanding Scripture should change that. I think it might to a certain extent, but it certainly hasn't. And that is something we want to hang on to. But
Right.
at least at the very least, hanging on to a human construct to believe that there's honesty there, I think is foolish. And if you really understand where we're going scripturally, why would you trust anything like that? Because the Jehovah come down and say, okay, the mainstream news, yeah, that's really okay. But you can't go through. You can't go through all this stuff. But
what they don't understand is you only hear what they want you to hear, and they shape your opinions, on purpose. It's all biased. It's all carefully edited to present the picture they want the public to see, and they don't tell the public anything they don't want them to hear. It's just like the thing with Pat Tillman, the ex-football player who was killed I believe in Afghanistan. And I'm not in any way belittling the courage of anybody in the service or anything of that nature, but what they said about what happened and what actually happened were two different things.
Yeah.
His family is just PO'd to the max, but they can't get their story out through mainstream media.
Well, when she was the last to come on, as far as I know, the mom,
Mm-hmm.
and she kind of bristled and they let her just say so much, and that was a short leash on her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things too. I don't want to get into everything. I mean, what I'm thinking about is lately somebody contacted me about coming on about having another horror story with Child Protective Services, which does a good job to a certain point, and then after a while becomes a cottage industry with foster homes.
Yeah.
Be that as it may. But a woman came on years ago and said she was going to go on Montel. Remember Montel?
Yeah.
All right. And it's like, that's going to be interesting. So she went on, and I never got to see the segment. For whatever reason, I just didn't catch it.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her how it went. She goes, they cut out the controversial parts.
Uh-huh.
So basically, nothing happened.
You're not going to get on there and tell anything they don't want told.
But I've
Their
done
masters won't allow that.
Of course not.
And you look at it this way, Viz, it's been almost 50 years. It's 48 years and counting since John Kennedy was assassinated. And you talk about a media whitewash and a snow job about what happened on that day. I mean, it's all the mainstream media and all the biggies like Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather and all the others down through the years. They've all whitewashed that and have kept the perpetuation of the myth that Lee Harvey Oswald, acting alone as a disgruntled wannabe communist, was the lone assassin. That is an absolute lie.
Right.
It is a lie, and it's been perpetuated. And there are even people that are paid to perpetuate that lie.
No.
Oh,
but you see, Walter wiped his eye. He took his glasses off and wiped his eye when he announced Kennedy's assassination. Weren't you touched by that?
Mm.
Yeah. So my point is, although I have mentioned to them, those who I will not talk about this stuff with anymore, that maybe if Satan's the prince of the air, he's the prince of the airwaves. Could that possibly be? And that you have no reason in the world, no reason whatsoever, to attribute any kind of character or integrity to mainstream news. Why? Because we're the United States and we wouldn't let that happen? Oh, no. Only Pravda and TASS and agencies like that propagandize their people.
It's them dang commies over there.
Yeah. And it's like
they keep their people ignorant.
I don't want to beat this to death, but I said this to somebody the other day, and they just like burst out laughing, going, "You're absolutely right." I was surprised. I didn't know if they're going to hit me or not. And I said, the problem with Americans is they're propagandized into believing they can't be propagandized. Boom, that's it.
That's one of your better phrases, and it's really
yes, it
true,
is.
Man.
And when I die, I don't want it on my tombstone. Because I don't want a tombstone.
Well, I wasn't planning to go to the cemetery and chip it on there, but
there ain't going to be one, believe me. I'm getting toasted.
Oh, okay.
The minute I've shaken this mortar coil, you take this thing down to the nearest barbecue place.
Yeah, I hear you.
Torch that
I was
sucker.
thinking maybe of a Glad bag, somebody just chunked me in a ditch somewhere and safe.
Yeah, that's right.
Gosh, stop.
Whack it and sack it.
This is just going in the tank. Man, sorry.
So in other words, going back to what we were saying about, Christians don't even stop and think and look at Revelation, and I'm just going to use that book. Okay, we don't have to go through the whole thing. But Revelation, I think, kind of gets it done. And they look at
does
that.
It ever? What a beautiful! the symbolism in the 17th chapter, when it's talking about what's actually going to happen in Europe, which is, the woman riding the beast. The mystery Babylon the Great, mother of harlots, and it was the woman riding the beast, and the angel even tells John that I will tell you the mystery of this, and it says the woman which you saw is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. So I'm just paraphrasing.
Right.
There's only, and it talks about that city being on seven hills, blah blah blah. Well, there's really no other city in the world other than Rome that matches that, and I could flesh that out, and I think I have in previous broadcasts. But it's just that it was symbolic, and one of the main reasons it was when at the time that it was written that the Roman Empire was, still the most powerful entity in the world, and they had to kind of couch it in symbolic terms to avoid, I guess, all the Christians being slaughtered, or at least that's always been my impression. But it's quite clear, if you have any discernment at all and look at history. And that's really what it's all about. It's that they're going to have a Holy Roman Empire revived again in Europe. The last try, people often think that the last of the Holy Roman Empire kings and emperors was in the 1800s, and that Napoleon took them down. Well, it's true he did, but both Mussolini and Hitler were trying to revive the Holy Roman Empire.
But I'm not so sure they didn't.
Oh, they did. Yes, they did. That's what the Third Reich was. It was another attempt at establishing the Holy Roman Empire.
But can we distinguish this? I think one apart from the other. Somebody would say then go, well, Germany lost. So what do you mean? It's like Germany might have lost, but the leaders didn't.
No.
In other words,
the Nazi Party never lost. The Nazi Party just went underground. And that's what the Holy Roman Empire, which is essentially Satan's Holy Roman Empire, has been doing all along over all these centuries. And let's go into that, and I'll kind of flesh out what I'm talking about.
All right, but let me ask you before we start too, and I want to read something from Liam real quick.
Sure.
But to me, when you talk about nations being crushed and nations rising up, nations are nothing other than vessels that an evil spirit rides to get the job done. Did Hitler give up his country? Absolutely, in my mind.
Oh, yeah,
did Napoleon give up his armies? Absolutely, in my mind.
Hitler made some ridiculous statements toward the end about how the German people were not worthy of him and blah, blah, blah. And they deserved to, get what was coming to them because they just weren't strong enough and blah. I mean, this jackass had brought all this hell down on them, you know,
Yeah.
and then is standing back and you know, saying, well, you know, you're getting what you deserve.
There's been, I mean, the spirit of evil is unbelievable. I mean, it's in its magnitude and it's in its debasement. I mean, it is the worst of everything to the absolute. I'd like to use a plus thing like to a power of 10, but that would be positive. I'd have to say you'd have to go into the abyss, you know, to a nadir, to a minus power of 10. Mm-hmm. That's what that's all about. And it seeks empire, and whatever we've said or done on this planet, empire still has a way of wanting to hang around. And my feeling is that that's because that is wished by Satan, and he will use whatever nations, whatever movements he needs. He is his minions that will follow him and think they're going to get paid off in the end, and baby, are they. Right now, I mean, Hillary's in a dirt room forever, so, you know. But they think that they're going to get some. I mean, they believe in life everlasting also under his rule. Surprise. But my point is, there's always been the spirit of empire all through the millennia and all through civilization, and it continues to this day. And I would have to say that we have been dumbheads in the United States for allowing ourselves to be liberators. In the micro world, yes, but in the total picture, I mean, how in the world can you be at war or fighting for over 100 years and consider yourself sane? I mean, stop. So in other words, we're heading back to a final one, and I believe it's going to go back to where it's always actually been modernized in. I mean modern in a very loose term, and that is back in Europe. Everybody laughs at Europe as if they're like idiots and they're like back in the Stone Age and we're really hip in the United States and nobody else is. The old world has never lost power. They are very smart. They are very patient. They have sat back and let all this stuff go on, and they're getting ready for a resurrection. That's my take on it.
This plan, which many of them are in on and know it intimately, and you know, plot strategies. I think from time to time they even make mistakes in what they're trying to do, but by and large the plan keeps moving forward. You know, the dialectic keeps taking place.
Well, if you remember what Kennedy said in that speech at the Waldorf to the press club 10 days after he got burnt with the Bay of Pigs, he said their mistakes are never that they're never reported. Yeah. And we don't know who they are.
They're never really brought to light. You don't really see what's behind it.
No, it just goes to show you. I mean, if there's any kind of people getting out of hand on their side of the street, they take care of it. And they never really get deflected from their goal or actually delayed at all. As far as I'm concerned, they're right on time.
They took care of Kennedy because he got in their way.
Well, you can't make up your own mind and do your own decisions. Otherwise, bad things happen to you.
That's right.
Let me just read this thing real quick to you about Liam because it pertains to the European economic thing. And I trust Liam. I think he has a pretty good
oh, yeah, I do too. I like Liam a lot. He's a very nice guy.
But, you hear all this stuff that comes over here and some people have run stuff by us all, and he's like, no. And I would have to
agree. William's very conservative, very kind of practical minded.
Yep.
And he doesn't go with trends from what I've seen. He sits and thinks about it and tries to come up with his own conclusions.
Well, in an article that was sent around to us, just briefly headlined as Germany, Britain clash over EU's future, here's what he said. This is all BS. Britain is in the EU forever. They won't give the Brits a vote to leave, and this is the alleged conservatives. Britain has virtually no gold and has been in trouble for a long time. Only the Bank of England and large corporation holdings keep Britain afloat. German corporations are currently making out like bandits. They love the weak euro. Nobody is leaving the euro anytime soon. Europe is getting bigger and more hardwired into the former nations. Germany needs Greece and Ireland to make the euro cheap. A strong euro kills Germany, which is 80% export. Very good point. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
I think Ireland and the countries of southern Europe, such as Spain, Italy, Portugal, etc., are all kind of become the vassal states of the more powerful states to the north.
But
that's really what's happening.
But if they're going to be one big happy family, or maybe not so happy family, but definitely one big family.
Oh, yeah.
But this is a balancing act, as economics has always been.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've never considered it to be ever at any one time a free market. Not at all.
Oh, no.
And I think that economies have always been planned, though we don't know it.
We're not going to have a free market, because that means that maybe their butts might get taken on something. They always, I'm talking about the elites, always have everything set up so that they benefit and everyone else has to kowtow to them. They're not going to let something just, be outside of their control.
Well, so I mean, in this stage, at this period, now we're looking 70 years after the war, 60 years after the war. Germany might rise up again as a economic power, but remember, I mean, they were put together, and all of us were caught by surprise how fast that happened. Mm-hmm. And it was like, well, that isn't any mistake. That isn't any.
It's not any kind of a problem, really, outside of the problem of being divided and having the Russians on one side and us on the other. But it wasn't a problem to put money into it, because that money was all coming in from the Bormann organization, the Underground Reich, which was over here in South America to a great extent, and other countries as well. And they were in business before the war and after the war with many major American corporations as well. And, I read all that stuff to you from Manning, and explained how that they had put these corporations together that rebuilt West Germany and put Germany, back together economically. And Germany eventually made out much better than its enemies, the United States and the Soviet Union.
That's why I'm wondering that this whole concern about Germany being a bad guy again. I don't know. I don't know that there won't be a different twist on this. But on the other hand, also, I think, as he said, if you have weak and strong partners in the EU, that might just serve the purpose.
Well, the idea is to get rid of national sovereignty.
Yeah, that's it.
And to have the elites run the show, which they've been doing all along. But they want total control. They don't want to have to deal with national governments, that get in the way of what they want to do. And there's going to be. I don't see any way around a third world war that will actually bring in, eventually, world government. I don't see any way around that.
Oh, no, not at all. And here's another one from Liam. The article he was referring to came from Bloomberg News. It said Italy approves a 30 billion euro emergency plan for economy. And Liam writes, he goes, this comes on the heels of the major central banks getting billions of dollars out there to stop stop Europe's collapse. He puts in, he laughs, ha ha ha. He goes, this helps weaken the dollar, in parentheses, more exports, and makes the euro look strong. This is pure manipulation, tit for tat. But he goes, it's interesting to see how they do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's key. And that is, this whole thing is a Punch and Judy show. And of course, it impacts people very severely. In fact, that's probably the most critical element in everyone's lives. If you kick out the economic legs of every country and its people, I mean, you got anything you want. You don't have to fight. You don't have to fire a shot. And as I think I had written in an email that you got, I mean, I was being a little sarcastic with me to a certain extent, but it's that if you can control money, what else falls in line? They can control your housing. They can control your food, energy, and water. And that's where they're going. And I think the greatest avenue is through finances. It's through money.
Well, it's like, I think I've read it a couple of times in the series, the thing that Dorothy Thompson wrote, and she was, by the way, the wife of Sinclair Lewis. Anyway, Dorothy Thompson wrote that it was going to be a European Economic Union, which it turned out to be.
There you go.
And they've been working on it all along. And they don't care how they take power. They would rather take it economically. They don't want to lose. They don't really want bloodshed if they can avoid it.
The bloodshed.
But they want power.
The bloodshed's for when they finally want to reduce population. Mm-hmm. When they want to do that, when they want to depopulate and get as many of the hoi polloi off the planet, fine. But let me ask you this: do you know why Thompson came up with that? I wouldn't say conclusion, but reported that.
I'm not really sure. It was in, I believe, the New York Post in 1940. But she said that I think it was something to the effect that she just wanted to try to clue people in on the fact that they had friends over here that were involved in the whole thing.
But was she in Europe when she?
I don't know if she was in Europe or here.
I thought so.
But okay. I think she had been in Europe for quite a while.
That's what I mean.
And she was reporting back, and she said that she'd heard it from many people. Many Germans had told her, they laughed at the idea of attacking the United States, coming across and invading the United States. It was totally unnecessary because it was going to be business as usual, eventually. They had friends here. They were in on it. The American elites were in on it. And we've shown that all through the series. I can just bring up the example of the Bush-Harriman axis. They were the principal financiers of Fritz Thyssen, who financed the National Socialist. Huge amount of American money, and not just the Bush-Harrimans, but I mean the Ford Empire and General Motors. And all these other American corporations were basically part of the Third Reich. I mean, the majority of major American corporations made money off both sides during the war. That was the whole idea. It's not the whole idea, but part of the idea was you make a ton of money while those nasty peasants out there get cut down. We weed some of them out, and we get what we want in the long run. And I think that that was part of the scenario. And I think the Third World War will be even more to the point of making money and weeding out the population. I mean, they talk about getting rid of billions of people on this planet. Something like I forget what the percentage was I heard, but it's like 6 out of 7, or just an enormous number of people.
Just enough to sweep the streets and.
Yeah, I mean, we're
I
talking a bloodbath. Now that would take nuclear, chemical, and biological war, but with the weaponry that's been developed, it's not outside the realm of possibility. I mean, it was not outside the realm of possibility of eliminating everybody on the planet, 50 years ago, with the development of larger and more powerful nuclear weapons, such as the hydrogen bomb.
Well, I think, and I know this is conjecture, but you think about the big population centers. Don't think cities in the West. I mean, just think of places where, for the most part, they have the double whammy of proliferating a little bit too much and having not enough resources. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could starve out sub-Saharan Africa.
Well, I think the elites, the New World Order elites, have been working on Africa for quite a while, and I think that's where AIDS came from. The whole idea behind AIDS was that thing was made in a laboratory, and it was gene specific, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
And I think that they unleashed that on Africa quite a while back, and I think that's only probably one thing. They've probably done other things, and will do other things.
Oh yeah.
And they're definitely wanting to get rid of a huge amount of the Third World. And don't think that they don't want to get rid of a lot of people in industrialized countries as well. They need somebody around, like you always say, to do the wet work, but they don't need that many people around.
No, they don't. And this is the last email I'm going to read to you, and this is the one that I wanted to find, if you don't mind, all right, from Liam, and for obvious reasons. He said, I've been watching all this Italian and Greek charades play out. The Brits are being fed this... they're being fed this BS. The EU is going to fragment into 1,000 pieces and die, when, of course, this is BS. A German woman at a research group said Germany can't afford to leave the euro, as a strong Deutschmark would kill the German economy. I don't know of any major political party in the whole of Europe who want to leave the euro. No Greeks, no Italians, and no Irish want to leave the euro. Greece got an ECB board member as the new prime minister. Italy is also getting an ECB member as their prime minister. Hilariously, some commentator said that all current governments will be kicked out of office next year. This person said the new government would be more Euro-centric. this is complete BS, as all new governments in the next elections will be socialist, as most governments now are conservatives. You think socialists want bigger, more powerful EU or smaller? Yep, you guessed it, huge EU government. I'll have to go along with him on that one too. And I also had to be a little haltingly there because Liam, as sometimes I'm given to do.
Yeah, he gets a little scatological.
Yes, there's a little salty language in there.
Yeah.
And so as we turn back to what's...
shocked. I am really shocked.
I'm shocked that gambling is going on here. No, that was Casablanca.
Yeah, I love that.
Wasn't it? Oh, thanks for winning, sir. Okay. But going back to Europe, to me, honestly, as you know too, when we were growing up, the history books and everything, we looked at Europe as like, yeah, you guys had a run, but you're like old farts now. Go away. We're where it's at.
Yeah.
And I understand why we felt like that. And
they were yesterday. We were the new world.
That's right. We're where it's at.
We were tough and we were strong and we were going to take the world and by storm, whatever.
But I think anyway, you and I and some of us have come to realize, and if you think about it for whatever reason, I don't know why, but the power has always been in Europe. Mm-hmm. However the countries were configured at any particular century, the power was always in Europe. And one of the centers was Rome.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. You've always got to consider that in Daniel, God told us through Daniel's interpretation of the dream, which, of course, God had put into Nebuchadnezzar's head, there were going to be 4 world empires, and it was Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. And the Roman Empire was the last. Well, the Roman Empire obviously couldn't be the last if it died back, roughly 1,700 years ago. The Roman Empire has always continued to exist in one form or another ever since Rome became an empire. And the Holy Roman Empire, which was a very strange creation and has a very long, weird history, but the Holy Roman Empire was, just a continuation of the Roman Empire, with the addition of the church, combined with the political economic element.
But doesn't that say something about the original Roman Empire was gained militarily? Mm-hmm. And then after that, I mean, I've thought for to me, the way I look at it is that this empire, I mean, that to want empire is not cool. I mean, it isn't a good spirit. Do you know what I mean? Oh, we're going to come and bring occupation to your neighborhood. Oh, gee, thanks.
Well, empire is based on a bad premise in the sense that empire is based upon the subjugation and theft of other people's goods, and of other people's, basically using other people as slaves to enrich yourself, and stealing their resources.
But think about the mindset of a nation, or at least, it's not always the people. The people are kind of like, all right, whatever you want, but I mean, you're talking about the government and its extensions, which are military. Can you imagine where your head is at to say, oh, gee, hun, here I am. Let's talk about, the BC days. Yeah, here I am down in wherever, Jerusalem, and we're just kicking the crap out of the Jews down here, and I can't tell you how much fun it is. Really like to see you soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta be, something's gotta be wrong with you, and wrong with an entire population or a section of that to want to make that work. I mean, why, you're gonna go from Rome to what? Up to Scotland? Isn't that a great deal?
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, oh, honey, the weather's really good here, dear. I mean, what is it
and
in you?
And the people are dressed nice.
They wear skirts, hon, even the men. And they moon us continually. But
you have to be careful when you ask one of them out.
Got to look under the skirt first.
Uh-oh, we're going to the Lola thing.
There we go. Oh, and I got to mention this right now. Dean from Vancouver sent us the original. And Dean, don't be mad at us. If you listen to this, please email me and let me know that you heard this.
Yeah.
Dean sent me the original Lola,
yeah.
Which you and I probably have forgotten there was a controversy.
Yeah, Coca-Cola.
There you go.
And the original.
It wasn't cherry
I think
cola.
the Coca-Cola Corporation, gosh, they're
Do not mess.
They're so pure and clean that they decided they didn't want that in there.
Let's put it this way. You may be the Kinks, but you don't mess with Coca-Cola.
You don't mess with a Coca-Cola
and they changed that baby real quick.
Remember that line? That was a line in, Dr. Strangelove. Where
the vending machine.
Yeah, the vending machine.
And
the
tune
Coke
and win.
machine. He told him, "Hey,
you're gonna have to answer to
you're
Coca-Cola."
messing with the Coca-Cola company.
That was one of several real quick winks and nods about the way things are in that movie, and that also involved the whole bit about fluoridation between Sterling Hayden and the other character that was Peter Sellers.
Yeah, he was the total nut who had started the whole crisis.
That movie.
And the funny part was that came from, at that time, the John Birch Society, which was considered to be probably the furthest on the Looney Tune fringe in America, they were talking a lot about fluoridation, but the problem is they were right. They might have had some screwy ideas about a lot of other things, but they were right about fluoridation. That was the funny part.
Well, that's what Peter O'Rourke said when he was on a while ago, talking about another health item that the Birches were talking about.
Yeah. And
he went, baloney, because, about the Birches. And it was the old story about when do you get good information from bad sources and, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And there you go. I mean, the Birches were right about that.
Yeah.
And still to this day, of course, nobody's listening. But anyway, they had it down.
Yeah. I try to use toothpaste without fluoride, but, man, it is hard to find that stuff.
All right. For anybody who's asking that question, like you, Larry, I will tell you what we do. We take baking soda.
Yeah.
We will take neutralizer gel bought from the Miracle 2 people, and you don't have to go through Joyce for that.
Uh-huh.
All right? Take a neutralizer gel, baking soda, and pop in a little bit of peppermint, flavoring that you can get from a health food store.
Yeah.
You make that mix, you got a great toothpaste.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't want the peppermint, don't worry about it, but definitely do that. Get the neutralizer gel, baking soda. We have not. I've
used baking soda to brush my teeth before, but I never heard about the neutralizing gel.
Well, you know what that does? It makes it a little pastier.
That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it just makes it into a paste.
Yeah.
That's all the neutralizer gel does. And I will tell you what I use toothpaste for: taking off those nasty marks on the walls. I'm serious.
It's good for that. That fluoride works great.
That toothpaste, man, that is a great stain remover.
Ooh, man, I'll tell you, it'll probably remove just about anything you got.
That is true, Doc. But anyway, so getting back to where we were going to, what I was saying also is that for any people to want empire, there's got to be something wrong with you, because it's all about control and actually hurting other people. That's all there is to it. I mean, who gets their yayas off at the end? I mean, who's at the end of the drain pipe? Who's the real recipients of anything good from the occupying country? Nobody, really.
No.
But it stays with us because evil has never left this planet, and you and I know
it's
why.
All based on physical force.
Of course.
Yeah, it's all based on physical force and fraud. That's what empires are.
But that's what makes the world go round.
And the funny part is that at home in those empires, the people that live at home usually are unaware of what the empire is doing overseas. And I'm thinking now of a country that starts with a U and ends with an A. This country, we are an empire and have been probably before World War II, but definitely after World War II from 1945 on. There are just so many countries we've done some, we've exploited and jacked with the political systems and the rights of people in other countries around the world. And most Americans just aren't aware of that, don't want to know about it.
Well, if we're perceived as being some kind of, I don't know. I'm so sick of the word patriotism.
Yeah.
Unpatriotic.
Well, this country was God-breathed,
I know.
And
well, take a look at
what's our right.
Well, people can read online or get otherwise. Smedley Butler's War is a Racket.
Exactly.
Smedley Butler was one tough ass-kicking Marine.
He was.
And then he looked back and understood exactly why he did what he did. And as he once said,
he realized that he was just a tool of the empire, and that the big corporations, which really were running the country, they were using American military to further their aims across the world, especially in. I think he was involved in China in securing mineral rights and.
Well, he said he made China safe for Standard Oil.
Yeah.
He said he made Haiti safe for United Fruit.
Right.
So anyway, you want to argue with that guy? Go ahead.
No.
But there you go. That's the way of the world.
He's got nothing to lose by telling you the truth.
So, all right. Now, getting back to the new Holy Roman Empire, as we said, we'd assume, since we fought most of the wars for them in the last 100 years, that something's going to change, and that it may be, as you said, and as we are conjecturing about that, the power at this point right now, at least for what really matters as far as world domination over populations, would come probably through an economic means, which I don't know. I mean, I'm leading you down a road you may not want to go, but I mean, I'm looking at this economic thing saying this is meant to be what I would call a first salvo into controlling the world and taking a step closer to an actual recognized and accepted world rule.
Yeah, I actually believe that, and I think that it'll come in stages. I think first you'll have, once the EU morphs into really a super state and into an empire, an economic empire. It's also working on building up its weaponry. Once that takes place, and once it merges with the Roman Catholic Church, once you have a merger of the corporations, the state, and the church, you will have a super state, and eventually after the Third World War, I think that will bring them into the forefront as the world power, and I think that's where it'll go from there. But I was going to talk about the actual genesis of all that in an article called Nazism and Aryans by Constantine. He writes, the Nazi movement grew in a time when many new philosophies were breaking into the consciousness of the world. Prominent among these theories was the cult of theosophy, which explained the development of man through racist theories of evolution. It was taught that certain pure bloodlines were destined to rule over and control the lower races in order to evolve human consciousness to that of the gods. Theosophy developed from the Rosicrucian secret doctrine, which taught that the leading bloodline, the Holy Grail bloodline, was descended from the historical Christ. Indeed, the Nazis believed the entire Germanic people belonged to these prehistoric bloodlines, which originated from the ancient Aryan tribes that inhabited parts of early Europe. It was believed that these tribes directly descended from the ancient gods and the prehistoric super-civilization Atlantis. Adolf Hitler gained enormous popularity when he took racist and occult ideas to the ordinary German people that had previously been exclusive to the European aristocracy and the Rosicrucian secret societies of the Holy Roman Empire, such as the Knights of Malta and the Dragon Court. Hitler claimed that as Aryans, the German people were ready to be initiated into the deep occult and alchemical mysteries, and so evolved their consciousness to become the master race. Hitler and Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS, even chose a sacred Rosicrucian symbol, the swastika, as their emblem. However, the Nazis will remain in service to the hidden masters of the Grail bloodline as their feudalistic occult doctrine dictates. In 1934, shortly after achieving power, Hitler declared, "We form an order, the Brotherhood of the Templars around the Grail of the pure blood." Lance Liebenfels, and we've talked about him before. In fact, he has a really nice beret, or did have. A leading member of the occult fraternity wrote to a fellow conspirator, "Hitler is one of our pupils. You will experience that he, and through him, we will one day be victorious." In fact, it was Baron von Sabotendorf's occult Thule Society that originated and financed the ultra-right-wing German Workers' Party, which eventually became the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the Nazi Party. A leading member of the Thule Society was Dietrich Eckart, to whom Hitler dedicated his influential book Mein Kampf. Eckart organized rituals involving, quote, gifted Russian peasant women, where it was said ectoplasm would manifest from their genitals and take the form of spirits. Eckart ran a publishing company and was responsible for printing and distributing the inflammatory Protocols of the Elders of Zion document to Russian White Army troops and to the German people, creating the myth of a Jewish global conspiracy that ignited anti-Semitism. Madame Blavatsky's Theosophy movement had predicted the coming of a, quote, new Messiah to usher in a new age, and having met Hitler in 1919, Eckart was convinced that Hitler was, quote, the one. Hitler was soon given the leadership of their German Workers' Party. Eckart wrote to a friend in 1923, follow Hitler. He will dance, but it is I who have called the tune. We have given him the methods of communication with them. I shall have influenced history more than any other German. Through the reunification of the Holy Roman Empire, Hitler's Third Reich would endeavor to restore the feudal system ruled by the rightful Grail and Dragon aristocracy, with the Aryan people as their new initiates. All other races would be exterminated or would be their slaves. It was believed that ultimate world domination would allow for the culmination of the historical pursuit of the aristocratic and adult secret societies. A new world order and a new king would evolve from the purification of the world, and a literal second coming would be achieved as the king became a god. Julius Evola, in his respected book, The Mystery of the Grail, notes, the Middle Ages awaited the hero of the Grail and expected that the head of the Holy Roman Empire would become an image and a manifestation of that king of the world. The invisible emperor was to become also the visible one, and the Middle Ages would be the middle in the sense of the central, the invisible, inviolable center, the sovereign who must awaken, the same hero avenging and restoring. The Nazi swastika and the neo-Nazi cross with circle are symbolic of achieving this state of axis mundi, center of the world, or mundi, king of the world, as the aristocratic occultists choose to perceive it. The First and Second World Wars were regarded as holy wars by these conspirators. The demonic behavior of the Nazis and their consequent refusal to show remorse or concede guilt for their crimes can only be understood in the light of this strange beliefs that are just as pervasive today with the numerous extreme right organizations. Well, I think right there, the way I see it, is they believe through the Holy Grail bloodlines that they could eventually evolve this Grail king. And I think this Grail king that they're talking about is what you and I would call the man of sin, the son of perdition, or the Antichrist with a capital A. That's the way I see that, and it looks awful clear to me. I mean, it's really pretty much, our coach, as in Jesus Christ, and our management, as in God the Father, saying, here's the game plan. Here's what they're going to try to do. Guard yourself against this. Pray and do my will.
No, I have no argument with that whatsoever. I think about at what period we are now, and it's something else is coming. It's portended to be pretty horrible, and it's probably going to be the last time this is going to happen. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the time frame is. I wouldn't even conjecture about it. We may not be alive to see it, but that's where we're headed. And I just got an email today, wondering about the way things are, and the question was, you meaning me, said, you mentioned that how can we get our country back? We never had it to begin with. And my point is, and as you well know, our government, if any time it was ever pristine, which I doubt, it only went the same way as all others, to corruption, because it's not based on God's law. And let's get that straight about the United States and the stuff about, God shed his grace on us. Well, he sheds his grace on those who accept him. I think that would be correct in saying, regardless of country, race, or whatever.
Those that accept him and believe in his Son, Jesus Christ. There's no other way.
But the question was, should we want our country back? And even if it were, and honestly, it's like, no. I think we're at a point now where it should be clear to those who have eyes to see and have ears to hear that we're to a point now where government, we'll give anybody what they want. Okay, once it was good. Okay, once it was good, fine. I don't believe that. And now I don't think anybody can argue with the fact, those who get it, that it is corrupt beyond redemption. And do we want our country back? My point is no. I think we're backed up to a point now where governments and evil don't even have to pretend too much anymore. And I'm starting to get that feeling like in the United States that the more embittered this Republican-Democrat paradigm becomes, it's only to make a distraction for how evil is taking more and more from us, and especially financially. I've talked about this. You get these people who think they get it with the Tea Party and stuff, and all you got to do is vote good government, but they don't realize that, the laws that are letting corporations go free with regard to food production and everything else. Well, who do you think passes that legislation, idiot? It's the ones you vote for. Oh, it's not my guy, it's the other guy.
Who are in the back pockets?
They all are.
Of the Grail bloodline people.
Yeah,
these. It's not just the Europeans or Americans and people in the rest of the world involved too, but the main, as far as the European Union, which is going to morph into the Holy Roman Empire, it's what is called the black nobility. These people who believe themselves to be, in the bloodline of Christ. That's part of the secret doctrine. That's what the Holy Grail bloodline was all about. The Holy Grail, that whole story is nothing but occultism, which is adopted part of Christianity, a counterfeit of true Christianity, I should say. I have an article here about the black nobility. It has several interesting points to make.
All right, before you go to there, and I want you to,
sure.
But I just want to clarify, because I'm thinking in the head of a listener or something like that, exactly where you're going with this. I think we can agree that the whole Merovingian story is baloney.
Sure it is.
However, that has always given the royals of every nation the right to believe that they are. Yeah.
It functions the same way as the divine right of kings.
Well, here's where I'm going. That's what got William Henry Harrison killed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, he died of a cold. That's right. If you understand what I understand is the history we think is really the real deal, are you in the opinion or in the understanding that Harrison ran his mouth at his inaugural address that he did not recognize the divine right of the kings to rule? Bang.
I think that's true.
All right. 30 days later, see you later.
Yeah, he kind of ran into the same buzzsaw that got Jack Kennedy. It's a different take on a little bit different angle, but I think he may have been a bit naive and more than a bit naive, and got himself killed as a result.
And Lincoln also. No matter what these guys were, listen, we can't speak for Harrison and the way things were back then, but we also know now, beyond a reasonable doubt, that even by the time Lincoln was in the office, these guys knew the way things went.
Yeah,
they understood, and I would have to say they were handled.
Once the Jesuits had him in their sights, Lincoln was a dead man.
Sure, but
it's just that simple. Maybe some of the people in the audience don't know what I'm talking about by saying the Jesuits. It probably sounds a little crazy if they haven't followed your show for a long time. But we really don't. I don't really want to, go into that here, but I will talk a little bit about the Jesuits in the course of this next article. But I mean, the point is that the Jesuits are one of the most powerful groups within the New World Order, within the elites that really do run this world, and that the Vatican is a political organization. It is to me nothing more than a counterfeit. The Vatican is a counterfeit of true Christianity.
And it also is a nation state.
Yeah, it is Mystery Babylon the Great, mother of harlots, and it will be riding on this system, which first comes up in Europe. It will be part and parcel of the Holy Roman Empire, and always has been. In fact, during the days of the Holy Roman Empire, nobody became emperor unless he was blessed by the Pope and was crowned by the Pope. It was just that simple.
And I'm not going to go into this, but did you read that email I wrote to everybody early this morning about this is who runs the world?
Yeah.
In response to that guy who goes, "Oh, it's the bankers." It's like, yeah, come on, give me a break. Okay, all right. Are you in agreement with that, General?
You're looking at the mid-level. That's all that
is.
That's what people do. They look at that mid-level and they think these financial guys are this political guy. No, it goes much higher than that. And it's not. It doesn't even stop, at the Vatican or the big wheels on Wall Street or anything of that nature. It goes all the way to the depths of hell and to Satan. I mean, it is Lucifer. It is his province to run the nations of the world as he sees fit, and that's what the problem is, and that's why mankind can't get along. That's why we have all the problems that we have. That's why we have all the poverty and disease and on, and economic deprivation and murder and war and on and on and on, because it's his province.
All right, now I'm contending that this is a period now, right now, where something else is taking place, where, in a sense, evil doesn't have to fake it anymore.
Nope.
It is starting to shed its disguise.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right,
and I think it's going to get a lot worse, Biz. I mean, even in popular culture, you see where people just say and do anything they want, no matter how vile it appears. I mean, just the level of depravity which is depicted in movies and television shows. It's just bizarre.
It is prophesied that the level of iniquity would rise. That's what it says. But and there's no doubt. I mean, come on. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I would say, and in addition, take a look though at what is happening to. All right, I'm just going to make a statement. I'm not going to explain it. I don't understand what's wrong with American people, that they can put their money in 401ks. They can get sacked like every couple of years. They're getting drained right now. And yet, what do? They go right back and put money into the 401k again when they know they're getting stolen. You look at this last situation with Corzine, the former governor of New Jersey, and now that organization doesn't know what they did with, $7 billion or $1 trillion. I mean, who knows how many zeros there are. My point is like, what is wrong with you people that put your money into these financial entities? You're getting yourself absolutely stolen from, and you go right back to it. What a beautiful deal this is. My point is that while this is all happening, while the bankers, that individual who wrote that article was talking about, well, they're still in it hand over fist. The people are locked into this fight about Republicans and Democrats and what good government they're going to vote in to stop this thing. And they don't realize that those people they're voting for are nothing but whores who are doing advance work and taking the blame so that the American people can get stolen from. My God, I mean, if you would write this into a fairy tale, people would say it's a fairy tale. Well, it's true.
Yeah.
And it's what I'm saying is that They're stealing everything they can. They're taking
and they laugh at us. They laugh at us while they're doing it.
On their backs,
the
legs
majority
kicking.
of
Yep.
mankind is so sheep-like and so foolish and so frightened or I don't know what the term would be, willfully ignorant. You know, it's people see the same scenario going over
and they
and
go
over
back
again,
to it.
and they keep. It's like a dog returning to its vomit. You know.
I'm thinking of making myself
that's kind of a little bit a little more probably than people need, but you know,
well,
I hate to be too vulgar, but you know, it really is like that.
Well, it says that in Scripture. What do you say?
Yeah.
What I want to do is make myself a reverend. And it is one of my favorites back in the old days, Reverend Ike. You got to believe in someone, so you might as well believe in me. We're not going to pay for that Eldorado with no 5s and 10s. We're going to need some long green.
Put your hand on the radio,
That's
feel
right.
the power.
Put your hand
power
on the
you pull,
dashboard,
you stand in
baby. That's right. Here comes that peach tree shaking Eldorado driving brother Viz.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to people out there, if you're going to put your money in 401ks, give it to me.
Yep.
Don't worry about it. I'll make it grow. So
the Church of the Cadillac and Discount House of Religion.
Del Rio, Texas, and we know where that's going. Say amen. Oh, wait, no. Wait, no. What is it? The Discount House of Worship?
The Lord does not want you to be poor.
No, wait, the Discount House of Worship. Put $10 in, there'll be $20 when you get there.
That's right.
Holy mackerel, Andy.
Yeah.
So the point is, American people, while you keep getting yourself fleeced and you keep giving them the money, this is outstanding. What a scam. And
yeah, man, I got out of the 401k thing several years back. I mean, I didn't even know about you back then. I hadn't heard your story, but
you're gonna
I
say
had the
BS
same experience. It was like, man, you're not going to burn me again with this crap, you know?
Think about
I'm
this.
tired of this, you know. I've got to put it somewhere else.
We could make a National Lampoon movie out of this, and people would say, what's so funny about that?
And it's like, and people are just keep putting their money in there, and they keep investing in this crap, and they keep just, sticking it to people, and they just, they know they're sore, but they don't know the source of the pain.
I know.
It's like, what, which part of their they're scamming you, don't you get? And it's a legal scam. It's allowed to go on. The government, I mean, these people, nobody on Wall Street has ever gone to jail over this except one guy. And it's like, how many hundreds, maybe thousands of people were involved in these schemes? Probably thousands of people.
Of course.
And none of them are going to go to jail for what they've done. And if somebody's monitoring this broadcast, you're all a bunch of crooks out there.
And we hope you are.
Yeah. Hey, J.P. Morgan, you're a bunch of crooks.
Listen, don't worry about it. It's all going to work out okay. One of the major corporations that's in the top, I think, 5 of philanthropic giving is Morgan Stanley.
That's so nice.
Now, doesn't it make you get a glow all over?
Oh, yeah.
However,
something makes me feel warm all over, but I think it's somebody peeing on me.
Running down your leg. And if you remember the movie...
Peeing on my leg telling me it's raining.
Well, you remember the movie Oklahoma Crude?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Oh.
Folks, real quick, here's what happens. There's a wildcat oil well in Oklahoma that this father and daughter don't want to give up. George C. Scott, one of the greatest actors ever, is a drunkard who bumbles onto the scene and winds up getting involved in this whole thing between the wildcat oil well people, and it was Faye Dunaway, and her father was played by John Mills, and the oil companies, and their bad guy who was like a Pinkerton, and didn't he play a great role, Jack Palance?
Yeah.
I mean, he's great, no matter, but he's a great bad guy.
He's just such an evil, menacing-looking guy.
Yeah, and he's got that like voice where he's always exhaling. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, folks, what we're talking about is Palance comes up the hill to have a discussion about business with the 3 characters up there. And at one point, Scott's got a shotgun underneath Palance's chin, and you hear this tinkling of water, and Palance starts to bristle, and they do a down shot, and here's this urine dripping on his foot. And Scott is so great. with his Wallisberry underwear on, with a bowler derby on, a cigar clenched in his teeth, and his shotgun under Palance's throat. Scott goes, "This is what business people do to each other all the time." And Palance bristles, and he goes back down the hill.
Because he knew it was true.
But like you said, there you go. So,
yeah, I mean, people just, I don't, there is a childlike, in a bad sort of way, naivety that people just don't get it, that the government is not your friend. The big corporations are not your friends. They are out to make money and have power over you. And it's like, don't you get it? They're trying to screw you to the wall for their own benefit. They could care less about you. And I don't know why the American public, continues to, people keep putting money into 401ks, trying to believe in something that should be obvious, never did work, really, but at least for the small investor. It's a rigged game, and people just, it's like going to playing a gambling casino where everything's rigged,
Yeah.
You're not going to win.
No, and in fact, what makes it even richer is that all you have to do is have one or two people win, even though it's rigged, and everybody else will come in.
Oh, yeah, that positive reinforcement
That's
thing.
right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or negative.
That's what casinos do, They'll let people win sometimes.
Well, you got to, otherwise.
Oh, yeah.
How really stupid. You have to be,
yeah.
Nobody wins here. Please come in and gamble now.
Yeah. I mean, the odds are always with the house. I've seen that mathematically proven how, in the long run, the casinos, the house always wins. The percentages are always with them. A few individuals will beat the odds here and there, but by and large, most people just get screwed. But people keep going and doing it. And that's what it is. It's the big casino,
Good old Andy Sr., we still tribute you.
Yeah.
If you go to VyzygothRaw.com and you go on the homepage, which Angie has really affected to remind me so much of my urban upbringings, and the signs of the times are written on the school brick walls.
Yeah, in tenement halls.
Yeah, there you go. And one of them is Andy's. Phrase which he coined a couple of years ago. It was just one of these things that just knocks you between the eyes, and he goes, "It's what is it? We're all chips in a big casino," and I can't argue with that.
No, me either.
All right, moving on, Professor Larry.
Yeah. I was going to talk about the black nobility, the aristocrats of Europe, and it's in a an article titled "The Black Nobility" by a guy named Wes Penn. These people earned the title of black nobility from their ruthless lack of scruple. They employed murder, rape, kidnapping, assassination, robbery, and all manner of deceit on a grand scale, brooking no opposition to attaining their objectives. They all have immense wealth, and money is power. The most powerful in the black nobility families are located in Italy, Germany, Switzerland, Britain, Holland, and Greece in that order. Their roots may be traced back to the Venetian oligarchs, who are of Khazar extraction, and married into these royal houses in the early part of the 12th century. According to researcher and author Dr. John Coleman, a committee of 300 was established early in the 18th century, although it did not take on its present form until about around 1897. He puts in parentheses, when the China opium trade was legalized. Documentary proof as to the existence of the Committee of 300 is not forthcoming, and it may be no more than a convenient phrase to describe key players. And socialist politician and financial advisor to the Rothschilds, Walter Rathenau, writing in the Weiner Press in December of 1921, said, quote, "Only 300 men, each of whom knows all the others, govern the fate of Europe. They select their successors from their own entourage. These men have the means in their hands of putting an end to any form of state which they find unreasonable." Exactly 6 months after publication, Rathenau was assassinated. That was a big event in the history of Germany, too. It caused a great deal of chaos when Rathenau was assassinated. Most, if not all, of the crowned and uncrowned heads of these dynasties enjoy huge incomes from ground rents. All favor Global 2000 report to the president that's calculated to end all industrial progress and by famine, disease, and wars eliminate the excess population industry supports. All oppose nuclear power that can produce cheap electricity, the key to economic development and prosperity in the Third World. They ardently desire a return to the feudal system where they will once again be absolute rulers. While professing Christianity, the oligarchical families, for the most part, actually despise it in secret. Masonry fulfills their religious beliefs, and without faith, they have no belief in reward or punishment in a world to come. They live for the here and now. In 1815, the Jesuits and their Freemason allies among the crowned heads of Europe held the Congress of Vienna, whereby Swiss neutrality, already sanctioned by the Peace of Westphalia in 1648, was forever guaranteed. And no matter how many wars are provoked in which the common man has to do the fighting, the money of the nobility in Switzerland should always be free from plunder. It's part of Rothschild's meticulous long-range planning and why Switzerland exists to this day. But that doesn't mean that your money would be safe. The place of Freemasonry in the power structure of the elite is quite evident as they carried through Adam Weishaupt's conspiracy to avenge the Jesuits after their abolition in 1773 by short-lived Pope Clement XIV as immoral and a menace to the Church and the faith. By launching the French Revolution and directing Napoleon's conquest of Catholic Europe, and by revolts against the Church in Mexico and Latin America, they cut off Vatican income. Nathan Rothschild's financing of Britain resulted in the defeat of Rome's enemy, Napoleon, as well as being the source of his wealth and influence. Since Gregory XVI conferred a papal decoration on Calvin Rothschild for loaning the Vatican £5 million in a period of difficulty, the Rothschilds have been the fiscal agents of the Vatican. With Vatican interests at heart, the Rothschilds extended their financial and political dominion in the United States. The Vatican's interest in the U.S. was clearly revealed in the secret 1822 Treaty of Verona between Austria, France, Prussia, and Russia, whereby the Jesuit order pledged itself as the price of reinstatement to destroy the works of Satan, quote unquote. It established in setting up revolution, representative governments such as republics and democracies of France and the USA, replacing them with the only form of government approved by the Church, ruled by divine right, as declared by the Vatican. As Senator Robert Owen pointed out to the U.S. Senate in 1916, the prime target to which the Vatican and the Holy Alliance directed the subversive and destructive activities of the Society of Jesus is the United States and other republics in the Western Hemisphere. This plot, he claimed, was the target at which the Monroe Doctrine was directed. What the senator did not realize is that the Monroe Doctrine protects the interest of the City of London. The Rothschild-Vatican cabal unsuccessfully attempted to gain control over the power of the purse in the U.S. through the First and Second Bank of the United States. They were established under emergency powers granted to the President by the Constitution as temporary institutions to tide the country through the periods of financial stress occasioned by the revolutionary and 1812 wars. But the aims of the conspirators to establish a banking monopoly were thwarted by the Constitution until the Fed. It is said that the black nobility promised a neutral Germany if Soviet Russia allowed East and West Germany to reunite, and that Russia promised to see that all royal houses are restored to the rightful heirs if they decouple Europe from the American alliance. I don't know about that. Anyway, imperial nobility enjoy a more elevated status than the nobility of the German successor states and indeed of the Italian states. The descendants of the Italian Holy Roman Empire titles have formed an association to which all male line descendants of someone ennobled by imperial patent is entitled to belong. And the Principality of Liechtenstein has also claimed the ability to confirm a succession to imperial titles and has confirmed the right of a Spanish nobleman to heir such a title for purposes of the Spanish law requiring the successor state to confirm that the claimant to a particular title is in fact the heir. Thus, there is a remaining jurisdiction, even though no imperial titles have been conferred since 1806. In 1963, the Holy Roman Empire Association was established to unite male descendants in its membership who are invested with the nobility of the Holy Roman Empire. It also includes a number of honorary members. The black nobility belonged to the Committee of 300 that controls the UN. Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands has the power to veto the Vatican's choice of any pope it selects. This may explain the untimely end to John Paul I's 33-day pontificate. The prince has veto power because his family, the Habsburgs, are descended directly from the last Roman emperor. The Habsburg Frederick III was the last emperor to be crowned in Rome. His great-grandson, Charles V, was the last to be crowned by a pope. This is a civil equivalent of the Pope's claimed apostolic succession from St. Peter. Early in the 5th century, the Merovingians established themselves in what is now Belgium and northern France. There they adopted the Kabbalistic pseudo-Christianity of the Cathars, a dualistic religion that holds that there are two eternal gods, the God of good and the God of evil. It is revealing that this Luciferian belief is held by Masons of high degree and those who would be masters of this world today, and who claim that Lucifer will be ultimately victorious. Under Clovis I, who reigned from 481 to 511, the Franks converted to Roman Catholicism. Through him, Rome began to establish undisputed supremacy in Western Europe. In return for being the sword of Rome, whereby the church would manifest her power and impose a spiritual dominion, Clovis was granted the title of a new Constantine and to preside over a unified Holy Roman Empire based on the church and administered on the secular level in perpetuity by the Merovingian bloodline. Like the sure mercies of David, this was a pact that could be modified but not revoked, broken, or betrayed. They believe Jesus survived the cross and married Mary Magdalene, who bore his son, then lived in seclusion in the south of France. During the 5th century, this lineage is said to have married with the royal line of the Franks, engendering the Merovingian bloodline. When in 496 the church pledged itself in perpetuity to the Merovingian bloodline, it was presumably in full knowledge of their claimed identity. This would explain why Clovis was offered the status of Holy Roman Emperor, and why he was not created but only crowned king. In 754, the church clandestinely betrayed the pact. And talking about the crown of Charlemagne. The crown of Charlemagne, a replica which is now part of the imperial Habsburg regalia, is said to have borne the inscription Rex Solomon. And the Spear of Destiny, which is said to have pierced Christ, resides today in the treasure house in Vienna, awaiting another Holy Roman Emperor. And that's from a book, The Rigby Joy of Knowledge Library, History and Culture, The Holy Roman Empire, Frederick here. It is clear why the protocols of the Elders of Science speak of a new king of the holy seed of David. Otto von Habsburg, who died recently, is today the titular Duke of Lorraine and King of Jerusalem. The Priory of Zion claimed to hold the lost treasure of the Temple of Jerusalem plundered by Titus in AD 70, which would be returned to Israel when the time was right. This might explain why Rome must defer to the kings of the earth and how she will seal a covenant with the Jews who have long hidden behind the shield of baptism. Prince Bernhard is in fact related to the Khazars and therefore a Gentile. And he talks about Revelation 2:9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but you are rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan.
Satan, that's right.
At any rate, having said that, he goes on to say, assisted by the CIA, Prince Bernhard has brought the hidden ruling body of the Illuminati into public knowledge as the Bilderberg Group. At the dawn of the Bilderberg Group are 39 members of the Illuminati, chosen from 3 committees, drawn from the members of all the secret groups that comprise the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the Vatican, and the Black Nobility. The committee works year-round in offices in Switzerland. The Committee of 300 now calls themselves World Government Founders for the NWO, a reference, no doubt, to their hereditary claim to the divine right of kings. It is imperative that we realize that privately the black nobility refuse to ever recognize any government other than their own inherited and divine right to rule. They believe the United States still belongs to England, and work diligently behind the scenes to cause conditions whereby they might regain their crowns. Every royal and so-called noble dynasty, past and present of Europe, have seats on the Committee of 300, most often by nominees. There are just too many of these royal families for them each to have representatives on the Committee of 300. Precedence is determined by rank, first royal family members, then dukes, earls, marquises, and lords, then finally commoners, who usually get the title of sir. That's probably a little more about the black nobility than you really want to know, but I think the point is well taken that the Holy Roman Empire is alive and well in the persons of the black nobility in the Committee of 300.
Who's that from? Is that from Coleman?
No, it's an article by Wes Penre, P-E-N-R-E. I just picked it up and started looking at it, and he had some interest. I'm not sure I agree with everything in there. I'm not sure that all of that is backed up, but quite a bit of it is, and I agree with the majority of it. He says that Prince Bernhard is the leader of the black families, and he also claims descent from the House of David through the Merovingian dynasty, a claim that has been acknowledged to be valid by the Carolingian dynasty that supplanted him, by other monarchs, and by the Roman Church of that time. Thus, he can truly say that he is, quote, related to Jesus. Well, he can say that. I'm not buying it.
No, of course not. But you see, that's a linchpin that they have to hang on to make all this real.
Yeah.
And of course, okay, fine. And that's never been more, I guess, pushed forward than it is at this time, as we see everything that's in Scripture being attacked. So now, all of a sudden, in the in what Da Vinci's painting of the Last Supper, now we have what? We have that's Mary Magdalene in there now.
Yeah,
remember?
that's what they're saying.
You know, all right.
I think it's ridiculous.
Well, but then they take that and they run with the whole deal about the two of them hooked up.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, all right. You know, and so anyway.
There's more here that I forgot. I was going to read, but I've forgotten about in this same article, The Black Nobility. And he says, the Priory of Sion is the name of the secret order, that's with the S-I-O,
right,
is the name of the secret order which created the Knights Templar as its military and its administrative arm. It should be remembered that the Knights Templar were the forerunners of Freemasonry. The Priory of Sion continues to function through the centuries, acting in the shadows, and has orchestrated certain critical events in Western history. It exists today and is still operative. Its declared objective is the restoration of the Merovingian dynasty and bloodline to the throne not only of France but of all European nations as well, a restoration that is sanctioned and justifiable both legally and morally, well, to them. There is a strong evidence to suggest that the order was the author of Freemasonry and the protocols of the Elders of Zion, as well as the Rosicrucians. There is abundant evidence to suggest that Nostradamus was one of their secret agents. And there is no question that numerous quatrains which refer to the advent of Le Grand Monarch indicate that this sovereign will ultimately derive from the Merovingian dynasty, implying a double hegemony of the papacy and the empire, of the Vatican and of the Habsburgs. He frequently referred quite explicitly to the Knights Templar and the House of Lorraine, which is now synonymous with the Habsburgs. I thought that was pretty interesting there.
What made you...
Excuse me.
This is by Penna?
Yeah.
How long ago was that written?
I'm not sure if it is. I think it was 2004. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just... have you ever read anything else by him? What struck you about that article for you to have retained it?
Well, the reason that I got it was I was trying to find more information about the black nobility and about the Holy Roman Empire. And it popped up when I was doing my research. And when I read it, I thought, well, there's an awful lot of interesting information there. Now, I can't vouch for all of it, you know, but a lot of it is really fascinating. And I think it all leads to that same thing about the Grail King and the mystery of the Grail, and how the New World Order and the new king would evolve from the purification of the world and a literal second coming, which would be when the king became a god. And I think that's what they're talking about, and I think that is what the Bible calls the man of sin, the son of perdition, and what you and I call Antichrist with a capital A. as opposed to Antichrist as in the spirit of Antichrist and being opposed to Christ.
No, I mean, again, on a secular level, that's all well and good. And there's not a yeah, but statement to this. It's just that it seems that, all right, most of the world will read that and take it just that, the secular level, and point to the black nobility as the bad guys. And it's just what we said about the bankers before.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, yeah, that's not where it's at. There's something higher than that. But your point's well taken. And the reason I say this too is also because, like the LaRouchians love to run with some of this stuff and blame it all on such and such, and someone blames it all on such and such. It's either the Jews did it or it's the British, the Zionists.
Oh yeah, it's the British Empire that did it all, according to LaRouche. And the British Empire did have its hand in many evil actions, but it's not any one group. It all comes back to their father, which is Satan. And when Christ, was talking to his adversaries, he said, you are of your father the devil, and his work you will do. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really what's involved here. And of course, they want to wrap themselves in this story about how Jesus and Mary Magdalene had a sexual relationship, and they had a child, and that's where their bloodline comes from.
That's where it all comes from, right?
And that is the most awful blasphemy. That wasn't what Jesus came to do at all. Jesus came here to save souls through a blood sacrifice on the cross.
Yeah, but that's the exact reason why the other myth is perpetrated.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I mean, anything to keep everyone from Christ on the cross.
I was really surprised at this. Who's that guy? Daniel Brown, was it? That wrote. The Da Vinci Code. Yeah. Oh, I think what the Da Vinci Code did was perpetuate a terrible blasphemy and give people a reason to believe that this trumped-up story about Christ and Mary Magdalene having a sexual relationship, was actually plausible. And as a result, I think this guy made an awful lot of money by
wasn't that the
by
point?
Blaspheming against the Lord Jesus Christ and taking away from the terrific miracle and victory of Christ on the cross.
But wasn't that the point?
Oh, exactly.
The point's to make money. What's the problem here?
Yeah, exactly.
And so many people were attracted to that story. Now, I'll just say this: if we didn't know what we knew, we could pick up that book, and we didn't necessarily have to buy it buy the whole premise because it was fiction. But people do love a mystery set in that time period because of all its allure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about not necessarily the time of Christ's life and end.
You're talking about the Middle Ages.
Yes, the Middle Ages, right? Everybody's kind of into that with the flute playing in the background,
Some guy with a funky hat who looks
yeah,
really.
He's got that funny little flop
hat. His sexuality is very questionable.
Yeah, and you get the little censor in the corner playing the
kind
piano.
of light in the loafers. Got that that little thing going on. Yeah. This is descending, isn't it?
No. But just understand, you the last 2 weeks you've done this all on your own. So you can blame it on me having.
Oh man, I had to lighten it up there. I was starting to get really.
But isn't it true?
Really wound up.
I understand the whole draw to that time period and mysteries, and everything's in a fog at night and all that jazz. Yeah, I dig that. But again, when pertaining to Jesus Christ, I wouldn't want to be you when the time comes.
I heard that.
Now,
I bristle every time. It's so common now for people to ridicule Christ, on television. For example, South Park. They constantly. I used to think it was a funny show, and then they started doing this thing where they would ridicule Christ, and it's like, man, that's not humorous. You know, I don't see anything humorous, and I don't see Jesus as being an object of ridicule. You know, there's something really definitely wrong with you for doing that. You know, but that's the world we live in today. Can you imagine that back when you and I were growing up? You know, in the 50s and 60s, somebody coming on television having a cartoon making fun of Christ? Just, it wouldn't have happened. But the level of public taste has been taken down into such a pit, filth, you know.
I'll say this, and I understand this. This country, as much as Christians and pseudo-Christians like to believe it is, this nation was not set up, as you well know, to be a theocracy.
No.
And as a result, I have to say, all through my early years through high school, I was, all right, here's an incident I'm going to tell you about. In fact, we're coming up to a point now where, let me see, it was, 68, my last Christmas in high school.
Yeah.
And we had the old Christmas assembly. And, most of the Christians were nominal. They didn't give a crap. Mm-hmm. And the Jews didn't care. I mean, it was no big deal to them. But in the Christmas 68, they had an assembly, and they ended the assembly with Handel's Messiah, and they asked everyone to stand. There was a kid behind me who was Jewish who did not stand. And I looked at him, and I looked back at the stage, and I looked at him, and like there were things going through my head, like should I jack him up, And then I said to myself, and I thought about this, and it has stuck with me. Obviously, I'm talking about it now. 4 years later or something. And I said to myself, you know what, really, it's not fair. Really, in a non-theocratic, I mean, this isn't a Protestant school, this isn't a Catholic school. There's no reason why anybody has to really do that. And so I understood, even though I kind of like brushed at it, that, no, I mean, even with TV, it doesn't have to be Christian. It doesn't have to be anti-Christian, but it doesn't have to be Christian because, to me, when somebody says, well, they took the Bible out of the schools, well, in a sense, Bible should never have been in there. And any Christian who's a Christian doesn't have to worry about bringing the Bible into school.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with the idea of separation of church and state because that's what's been wrong with Europe, and that's what's going to really get into being more of a problem in Europe very soon. And woe be unto Jews and Muslims, whenever that takes place.
Yeah, and lastly, my feeling was, and Christians get all worked up about this. Well, they took the Bible out of school. That's when it all went downhill. No, it went downhill a long time ago.
Yeah, it did.
No Christian needs to be told it's time to read the Bible. It was nice in the mornings, but nobody really cared anyway. You remember that? We had that in 6th grade. Yeah. Somebody wrote a chapter. Someone read a chapter of the Bible.
We would have a prayer for the day when we started out in high school.
And everybody's like, yeah, who cares? We're doing homework. Stop,
And we'd have guys that were doing the prayer for the day, have a student doing it. Guys that I knew, played football with, and they were anything but, glowing Christians.
So it was all a facade anyway, so don't get worked up about it. My point, though, in the end was, you can leave Christianity out of schools. That's fine. Just don't bring anything else in. Okay. However, they have, and not in the form of Islam or Judaism or any of that. No, they brought in a whole nother secular thing, which has taken the place, and that's what's being preached. Whether it's environmentalism at its radical level, that has been brought in. So my point is, leave it all alone. Don't bring anything in. That's cool. But, of course, there's always got to be something there to win the hearts and minds, surreptitiously or not, of the children. And thank you, public education system, for being a purveyor of that.
Well, the thing that always cracked me up is, over the years, I've always heard from various sources that America was established as a Christian nation by Christian men, blah, blah.
Yep.
But when you study the founders, the founding, quote, fathers, you'll find that, some of them were Christians, but the majority of them were deists. they believed in the ideas of the Enlightenment. They believed in God only in the sense that there was a creator, but not a personal God. And they were not Christians.
Good old Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, why are you telling people that, this country was set up as a Christian nation? And, I mean, the Constitution itself, it was established by those people that there would be, that Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a religion. Well, they put that in there for good reason. They'd seen all the religious wars in Europe. That's where, their ancestry and even some of them had, in their youth had lived in Europe. And they were sick and tired of that whole Catholic Protestant duking it out all the time, and they didn't want that here. And that was one of the few things that's really was a good. It was a civil right that was very important, and it made America different in the sense that you didn't have to worry about, whatever your religious belief was. You could practice it in peace for the most part, and that nobody could do much about it. And of course, that their efforts to say that this country was, God breathed and a Christian nation and all that, it's not only biased, but it's just downright historically inaccurate. And of course, why would we want to study history? We're Americans.
Yeah, but it's the old story about, what history are you studying? Mm-hmm. And, in a sense, it would have been better that no one was given any access to the history books that we were, of course, that had been in the school system since probably around the 1920s, and whatever the tax-exempt foundations got their claws on them and decided to write history the way that they, wanted us to believe it was. And let's face it, I mean, it was even, these minions of Satan who wanted to perpetrate the myth that, that God loved us especially just because we had Christian people here, and that, we were going to be a favored son, shall we say. Mm-hmm. And what
God
did that...
patted us on the head and said, "You're Americans, and I just love you better than anybody else."
So you go ahead and kill all the native peoples you can.
Kill all the natives.
That's right.
And do things, do things to them that are not Christian in any way, and yet call yourself a Christian. That'll be fine.
So, going back to the email I was talking about a while ago, not that we left there, but the point was, no, I mean, this whole thing has been a scam. I mean, nations were created not to give huddled masses someplace to be free. There were new markets. That's what the whole thing has been about. The whole Babylonian system has been instituted by Satan when he was allowed to take control here. And it will be that way.
All of the great world events are initiated by Satan. And he has his minions carry these things out. That's how it works. I mean, that's awful simple, but, in the long run, it is a simple process. It comes from his mind and the mind of the powers, the higher powers of darkness. And the Bible tells us that there's a hierarchy. He's at the very top, and that he has others below him, and that there are different levels.
There were people now I see who have emailed me in the past, and quite frequently, who are starting to fall away and probably have disappeared. Mm-hmm. And it's okay, I understand that, and it's not with enmity that I say this, but, the thing is, if you believe in human nature, to bring us to some kind of point, to take us out of whatever nadir we're in, and to put us on some kind of like Vesuvius, forget about it. And they see that as defeatism, and I understand why they would feel that way. But the truth is, no matter how you want to shake it, I can't see anywhere in the past where there's any indication that humankind is going to elevate itself to some new elevation, some new peak. It hasn't happened in the past, and it isn't going to happen in the future. And there's very little of that left.
You hit the nail right on the head, and it's our viewpoint is different from theirs. Our viewpoint as Christians is that mankind is inherently sinful. Mankind has a fallen nature. And that's why mankind cannot get along, and the world be a good place to live, and that's why you can't vote in good government. And that's the problem, is they refuse to acknowledge that there is a spiritual basis for the mess that we are in and have always been in since the fall. And there are just an awful lot of people out there, they don't want to believe in the supernatural. And even if they do, they don't want to believe in Jesus Christ. They don't want to believe that man is sinful. They don't want to believe that he has a fallen nature.
And that is, unfortunately, but understandably, where we're a small percentage, not only of those who get it, but you're going to have to admit, Larry, amongst even those who consider themselves evangelical, they can't put this together.
No.
And I'm not saying they're bound for hell or anything like that, but the point is they're just not a help.
Yeah.
And as
I'm not trying to pass judgment on anyone. I don't have the right to. God told me that in the Bible. I have no right to judge other people. But I do know that it's obvious to me that a lot of people are having a problem understanding the message that you and I are trying to put out.
I would say, I think they understand. I think accepting is where the problem is.
Yeah.
They understand
they
it.
Just don't. They don't want to get it. You know, they don't. They don't want to buy into it.
But the interesting thing is, I remember in the old days, what they're looking at is they're feeling they're going into some slavery they don't want, the slavery unto Jesus Christ, which is, of course, as you well know, I mean, that is like the biggest canard in the world.
Exactly.
It's the exact opposite. But you see, they don't want to give themselves over to that. They see it as oppressive, and we won't go into why that is. There are some that were elected and some are not, and that's another whole story. But they see that as being, I guess, oppressive. And so they'll try to, bust a move and hope that the world that they would like, that would come to some kind of new eon, would offer them what we all would like, by the way. You would and I would too. Some kind of enlightenment and peace and prosperity, security, and that's not
going to
happen.
have that in the new millennium under the rule of Jesus Christ.
But
we're going to have that kind of world.
You and I know that. But the thing is, they want this on earth through earthly means. We understand that it cannot be done.
Can't be done.
They don't understand that and won't accept it, and I understand on their side of the street. I was there too, once upon a time. No problem.
Well, it's almost like that old joke about the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And that's what's happening with these people. They see the same thing, they keep trying to do the same thing over and over again. It's not changing. And yet they persist.
All right, and I get
and they resist that. I don't know how to say it, but they resist that still small voice within them, that they resist the urge to turn to God and to realize that the only salvation is through Jesus Christ, the only way. He said, I am the truth, the way, and the life. No man comes unto the Father but by me. And he was telling the truth right there. And people just don't want to buy into that. And sometimes even people who may, in one sense, believe in Jesus, they don't fully believe it because they don't act it out, and they continue to persist in believing. That's my problem with so many people in the evangelical movement, and I'll name some names in the Southern Baptist and the Assemblies of God and some of the other evangelical churches. There's so many people in there, good people, that believe in Jesus Christ, that want to do right, but they still persist in wanting to go out and vote for the Republicans to save America, and it's just a total crock, and they just don't get it. And I've given up. I mean, all I did was talk till I was blue in the face, and I wasn't getting anywhere. People didn't want to hear it.
No, and that's going to continue, and that's just one of the other things that's going to be pervasive in the time that we're in. And it's going to, how we've said, it's going to be an extremely interesting time. How many years it takes to have this all, come to fruition? Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean,
looks like that Chinese proverb, "May you live in interesting times."
Well,
it's not necessarily a nice thing to say.
Well, I like
but
the
you're
others.
Right. It's extremely. I mean, it's going to be. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, right now things are so bad economically. I mean, I see it all around me, and I'm living in a relatively affluent city, and I see a lot of people that are really having it hard because they're losing their jobs. They're, people that, really don't have much of a prospect to find anything else, And in the meantime, they've still got to make car payments and house payments, put food on the table for their children, et cetera. And there's really very, very little opportunity for a new job. This is just, unemployment is I've been unemployed. I've been laid off several times in my life and had periods of unemployment, and I can't think of anything that was ever more depressing than that, especially to a guy, because for men it's so much a part of your identity that you have a job. You can support yourself and support a family, and so many people are getting caught in that now.
Well, I have to laugh, and this will all shake out later on. We are not in good shape economically, not all of us down Main Street. Mm-hmm. They said the recession ended. That's because the financial institutions were bailed out, but that didn't happen for us down here. Now, of course, you can come to lower numbers with foreclosures and such because just about everybody that was had been gotten. I mean, you'll come to the end.
Yeah, they can juggle stats,
Sure. I mean, numbers don't tell.
3 types of lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Right. Yes, numbers don't lie, but people make them do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not looking to be that way either, but I want to see some kind of real reason to see things turn around, and it's not, and it's okay. I mean, it just is what it is, but to call it better when it's not makes me want to bomb it. Now, here we are, all of a sudden, and I said this before, the stats were that more than half of America's population went out and bought on Black Friday. I'm not believing that. I'm sorry. I'm just not. Secondly, how in the world can merchandisers do well? And I wish them well, don't get me wrong, but I mean, isn't really Christmas called Retailer's Day?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it what it's all about? I mean, that's all that Christmas is.
It's all about stimulation of the economy in the retail sector. That's what it's all about. I mean, how many people are really thinking about the birth of Christ and celebrating the birth of Christ? No, they're thinking about, what kind of gifts they can get, and it's all about, the Bible says it's better to give than to receive, and there's always those jokes about that. And that, to me, my thing with the holidays is remembering, happy times with my family as a child. And I just really enjoy it for that. And I know that Jesus wasn't born in December. I know it's all, connected with Christianizing, the holidays. And it's all about the winter solstice and the Feast of Saturnalia, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, in the modern world, people just get so caught up in consumerism, eat, buy, consume. And that's all, that's all they preach. You turn on television and all this, if the commercials weren't annoying before, they're even more so during the holidays, because you've got to see some representation of Santa Claus about every 5 seconds, wanting you to buy a car or, whatever, some product.
I find it just kind of, it stretches believability that we are not out of the economic malaise, and yet we supposedly had a banner day on Black Friday, a real butt-kicking day on Cyber Monday. And as I said to Peter O'Rourke when he was on, am I supposed to believe this? And if it is true, what does that say about, the nation's population, which can't pay for anything anyway? I mean, if it really is true, I can only see this as a final swan song for all consumers saying, well, I don't have the money to pay anything anyway, so let me just go and buy all this stuff. And
I'll just go bankrupt. To heck with it.
Well, maybe I'll play this, maybe I won't. I haven't made up my mind yet because I'm just doing this extemporaneously with you. But I keep thinking about what Carlin said about they're buying shit they don't need with money they don't have.
At 16% interest.
Thank you. Yeah. Hey, here's a pencil. No, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the whole credit card revolution, whenever credit cards became big in this country, in the 60s and 70s, I guess. My God, you talk about a banking boom. I mean, every time you use a stupid thing, you're taking out a loan at a very high rate of interest, and it all compounds on itself. Some banker sat around, with an evil gleam in his eye, thinking, yeah, we'll give them these plastic cards and go out and buy all this crap,
Well,
and we'll pump it up during Christmas. And
what's funny is, I read this, on I think APFN years ago, but it made sense, and it probably is true, and that is, as I was emailing back and forth, very aggressively with terrible Ted Torbich, I'm like, I don't even think there's any money anymore. I mean, not that Ted was arguing it, but we were just kicking this stuff around. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think there's any money anymore. I mean, whatever gold and silver has been around has been scapped up by the banksters. Mm-hmm. I have something. We're nothing compared to that. I think whatever money existed has been sequestered now, just like you spoke about. Look at Switzerland. If you can consider Switzerland a bank, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Wouldn't everybody want to be like breaking in and kicking the crap out of them and getting the money out? But they don't. Why? Because it is the elite's money, mm-hmm. and you don't do that.
Well,
and also,
there was a big crisis in France just before World War II, and many of the French deputies, which are their equivalent of congressional people, got up and made speeches about how that the taxes were so unfair, and that the rich, the elite, didn't pay their fair share of taxes, and they wanted to get the tax rolls, they wanted to get the tax records from Switzerland because they knew that's where the money was going, into the Swiss banks. And around that time that they were doing all that talking, all that jive, the Swiss government passed a law that said that it was illegal for a Swiss bank to reveal who its clients were. In other words, you're not going to get any information, right. And they can put as much money as they want in here because they're paying us really well, on the interest on everything.
I know.
And it's like, nobody's going to touch Switzerland.
Yeah, in your face. I mean, that's where it's at. Mm-hmm. And also, I've heard like that the principalities that still exist in Europe, like Liechtenstein, mm-hmm. Have very interesting banks too.
That's a tax shelter.
Yeah.
I mean, they exist for that. I mean, there's a huge number of banks there, and it's the same thing as the Swiss. They hide their money there, and they don't reveal any of the account records.
Yes, I'm having a Dennis Leary moment. All right.
That usually means a lot of sarcasm and cussing.
Gee, that sounds like me.
Oh, man.
All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the liberty, whether you like it or not.
It's your show.
I'll stop with that. Damn. No,
you hate that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And that's why you do it.
I don't know.
Isn't it? Isn't it, Larry? That's why you do it.
Just sometimes, I don't know. Somebody stop me.
Yeah.
Somebody stop me before I do it again.
All right. What I might even do this as a postscript. I just think I want to read the two emails. One I wrote to our friends at RBN.
And friends at RBN.
Oh, you remember that one?
I'm not sure.
To Darren Weeks. I was minding my own business. Oh, maybe I didn't send that one to you.
I guess not.
I guess I was ashamed of it. Anyway.
That was quite some time ago, huh?
2 nights ago.
Oh, 2 nights ago.
Oh, no, I went bananas.
Oh, man. Is RBN jacking with you or something?
Oh, no. I'll send it to you now. You got to just check this out. I mean,
okay.
You're going to want to hurl.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other one is what I said, the history of the world in 5 paragraphs.
Yeah, RBN, the really bad network, to be followed by GCN, the garbage can network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and all right, I'll do this. Okay, look, I would ask you for an outgoing Christmas kind of song.
Yeah, how about "I'll Be Home for Christmas"? I like that one.
By whom?
I don't know who did that song. I wish I did.
Who
That's
didn't
a really
do
pretty
it?
song. You know?
Who didn't do it?
Yeah, I don't know who wrote it.
All right, give me the liberty to find somebody who doesn't make me ill.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The reason I wanted to hear that one is kind of sentimental on my part, because that was a really big song during World War II.
Yes, it
was.
For
all the soldiers that were off fighting and hoping to be able to get back, hoping to be alive to get home for Christmas. And some of them, were able to get home for Christmas. It was a big deal. And the reason I brought that up is because of my dad passing away this year,
mm-hmm.
and also, for all the other people whose fathers were involved in that, and their loved ones. And I don't know what your demographics are as far as your audience. I doubt you have a lot of people that are in that generation that are listening, but who knows? Maybe so. If so, it's kind of a tribute to them too for the terrible sacrifice and the terrific courage that they showed during that period of time.
But you said that it really doesn't matter that it's for that group. It's that for those who are. Well, there's a tribute, and the tribute is for those who come after,
mm-hmm.
and so it's for those folks now. So, and I just saw something on the news about the dwindling numbers. Obviously, this has to happen. Mm-hmm. About Pearl survivors, and my uncle, who's like 94, has no unit reunions.
Yeah,
Jeez, that's horrible.
It's a senior moment there, Viv.
Oh man, yeah. Well, because it's
Sinclair
like
Lewis.
I've never attended one. So I schools. Anyway, all right. There's no reunions to go back to because he's outlived everyone.
Yeah.
So we've come to that time. But I will say this also, and that is, in the days of black and white movies when we got them on TV back in the 50s and 60s,
mm-hmm.
and to this day. There was probably no better tearjerker than Since You Went Away.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Yeah, that is good.
When they found out that Dad was coming home.
Yeah, that is a good movie.
Isn't that great?
I hate to admit it, but that movie kind of brings the old tear to the eye. It really does.
Absolutely, and why not? There's no reason to say that that shouldn't be that case.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to wave the flag about that. We just want our loved ones home. We don't care who wins. We just want Daddy home.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what? That was Joseph Cotton. Jennifer Jones, I think, a young Shirley Temple.
Yeah, Jennifer Jones at that period of her life was absolutely gorgeous.
Oh,
golly,
here we go.
She was purty. She's just downright purty.
Man. All right.
At any rate.
Thanks for bringing that up. But I mean, and we'll just say this. We'll probably have one more pop at this before Christmas comes. But again, I think you agree with me. It's like, look. This is a time.
Yeah.
Don't worry about Jesus and merchandising. It's a great American tradition. If you want to associate it with religiosity, be free to do that.
Yeah.
But like Thanksgiving,
it's more about sentimentality and it's more about nostalgia. I was thinking about the day that they buried my dad. It was a rainy day, a very rainy, nasty, gloomy, and we went to the cemetery. And when we got there, they had the honor guard from the Army had sent out an honor guard. And this is for anybody listening in, monitoring this. The Army honor guard came to the funeral for my father. My father was a World War II veteran. And they did a ceremony where they folded the flag and they gave the flag to my mother. And my dad would have been really proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite an experience.
Yeah. So that with my dad with the Navy.
Yeah.
But at this time of the year, and talking with some people who say they reject the whole thing about the religiosity aspect of it. I get that. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for you and me especially, we understand and we appreciate it was a holiday. It was a holiday for like 6 decades of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And and as you well know, I don't have to say this, but I mean, a couple of years ago, I got to be a kid again. not so much for anything else except remembering, just as you are now, those who were with us and are no longer there, and for the dwindling numbers of those who occupy chairs. So that rhymed. So anyway.
Yeah, I think about my uncles and that have died, my aunts and uncles, and my cousin, people that were close to me that I really cared about. And I also think about childhood and how much fun I had, and going out with all my cousins. I had a bunch of male cousins, and we were all around the same age. We'd play touch football, which always turned into
a brawl,
a punch out. Yeah. It's like, hey,
I wouldn't expect anything less. That's
me.
right. That's right.
Yep. And sooner or later somebody would throw a punch. But, it was good times. Adolescent males have to get out and kind of cavort around like that.
Well,
we had a lot of fun doing it, and nobody got really badly hurt, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But, we had all that camaraderie and all that fun, hanging out with each other, all the joking around. And I remember my Uncle James, who was a minister, would always read the Bible, and read the passages and, about Christ in Bethlehem and in the manger and all that good stuff. And golly, it was really fun. And Uncle James was a lot of fun. He always told a lot of jokes afterwards, and he was kind of a larger than life character. My Uncle Blake was also a minister, and they were really fun people to be around. And it's just they're gone now, and I think about them and how it meant a lot to me.
When I went to Teaneck, and for the first of my life was in a town that had, probably 50-50, I don't know, I guess Jewish believers or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I had a laugh because a lot of the Jewish guys I knew were really into Christmas. And I was like, how come? He goes, it's a great holiday. I want to get screwed out of this. Are you nuts?
Yeah.
I go,
that's like Al. That's like my buddy Al, who's Jewish. It's like he and his dad's passed away now, but he and his dad always had the biggest Christmas tree that I'd ever seen. They loved it.
And I had to laugh because it's like, it's a fun holiday. I mean, think about it on all of the terms. And they
that's
were like,
what they said. So why not celebrate this fun? Most of our friends are, are Gentiles.
In fact, they were like, thank God for that because we got a week off of school.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing I heard a guy say one time. Man. He was Muslim. He said, well, do you resent this thing with Christmas? He goes, no, it's great. He said, I get time off from work. I don't see anything wrong with it.
No, that's exactly right. Don't sweat the small stuff. And that is true. I mean, it's a great American tradition.
Sure.
And everybody can partake of it because really there's not too much.
It's about family and it's about, children having toys and really enjoying, I remember my parents, I didn't realize it at the time, but they'd bust their butts to, save money to buy something for my sister and myself, for Christmas. And I think about that now and thought, golly, they really did care about us more than I realized, and they did their best to, to make things good for us. And it's another thing about it is, for me, and maybe for other people, is I know Leave It to Beaver world, never was for real. America never was quite as idyllic as I like to think it was. But I just like to think about that time in my past and the time in the country's past when everything seemed to make some kind of sense, and I felt
no doubt, yeah,
it was a good world, to live in. It was a good time to be a kid, as opposed to the way things are now for kids. I mean, that's a hard world out there.
I
comparatively.
Well, isn't it interesting, or isn't it strange, that a couple of years ago I decided to redefine Christmas.
Sure.
As and that's when I started going nuts about being left alone from Thanksgiving to New Year's Day, because I wanted to go back. And as I wrote to one listener, when I get to this period, I'm in the 50s and 60s. I'll see you later. But in that time too, we all want to simplify life. We would like to go back to a time when we didn't know what we were headed for.
Exactly.
And that's understandable. Absolutely understandable.
Exactly. A time when things seemed secure and peaceful, and America was a great place to live in those days.
Well, every place,
for us, because we were kids.
Yeah.
We didn't really know how rough the world really was. And I mean, America in the 50s and the early 60s was a paradise for kids. It really was.
That's true. It really was.
We were lucky, man. We were really lucky.
What I'm thinking about is this. Let me know about this. This could be a profundity out of my mouth, and then of course it could drop like a brick. But I'm thinking, the difference between childhood and adults is that at night when you pull the covers over you and you get like all snuggled in, children fall asleep. Parents start to think about stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why there's always the refrigerator light on at 3 a.m.
The biggest problems I had then were, fighting the bully down the street or, something. I mean, like Gary, there was a kid named Gary Norris, and Gary and I sometimes got along, sometimes we'd duke it out with each other. Every once in a while he'd win, sometimes I'd win. That was a big deal. And worried about, what kind of bike I was going to get for Christmas or if I was going to get the bike I wanted, that kind of stuff. I mean, big problems,
But I'm going to pose this last question to you, and then we're going to outro. And that is, here's how I feel. You tell me how you do. When Christmas comes, when Christmas Day comes, it's almost like a long-awaited asteroid or some kind of ethereal thing.
Yeah.
That when it actually comes, you can't grasp it and you can't hold on to it.
Right.
And it's gone. However,
it's always that depressing day after,
Yes,
where you
because
go, gosh, it was so great, but it didn't quite reach what it was supposed to, and now it's gone.
Because expectations can never be reached because we always set them so high. But I will say this: what I always will love, and I swear to God, it goes back to Thanksgiving Day, is that once that day comes, everything was geared toward Christmas is coming. Mm-hmm. And every single day was great anticipation.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you what, honestly, I'll take the 4 weeks before Christmas. Because when Christmas comes, Christmas is gone.
That's one Christmas song, just thinking about it, that's one Christmas song I don't want to hear is the 12 Days of Christmas. Because that Partridge in a Pear thing, Partridge in a Pear Tree thing just...
Well, I got the New York version of that. You ever hear the New York version of 12 Days?
I don't think so.
You probably don't want to. String up the lights!
I'll tell you one, too, I like. I don't know if you ever heard this one, speaking of Scandinavians. Yanni Janssen doing Just Go Nuts at Christmas.
Yeah, we probably won't go there.
I don't know, a guy played that for me one time, and I was like, man, where the hell did you get that?
All right, we've come to another end of We Are What We Hated. And we're going to probably meet next week, huh?
Yeah, sure.
And maybe you'll table it until after the 1st?
Yeah. My son will be coming to visit me for Christmas holidays on the 16th. So
you don't want to get him involved in this?
No, not at all. He doesn't like hearing about that stuff anyway.
All right.
He's not into that.
All right, we'll see you next week, and I appreciate you being here.
Sure.
And we will continue with We Are What We Hated.